Hello, you guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Oh my gosh, it has been a minute and I've missed you guys. And we have great news, something to talk about that I've been covering this for years since the beginning. So I'm really excited about this news. This happened, I believe, the day I was going to the beach. Let me know if you can hear me okay, though. I'm at my mom's house. And as I'm starting to go live, of course, something goes wrong. My headphones go out. So now again, I'm using Bentley's headphones. I wasn't going to be on camera because there's no lights over here. But yeah, let me know if you can hear me okay. Oh, missed you too. Oh my gosh, the at instead of your names, but I know your pictures, but still, I don't, that sucks. Because some people may have changed their pictures loud and clear. Awesome. So what they want you to do is that's what I was talking about is make a handle because technically you all have channels even if you don't put out content. Well, see, they started that handle thing like a year ago and you could change it every week or two. But now it's showing in the chats instead of your name like your handle. So thank you, Bendy. Let me find it. Thank you, Music City Mom. 4 years flew by. Holy cow, 48 freaking months. Are you serious? You had to show us your tan only for a second. Thank you. My face is way less tan than my body, too. Oh my gosh, y'all. It's been a day. I want to get into this, but let me just say, I want to find Jen's comment and I want to say thank you to Woofy and Music City Mom. Thank you for being a member for 25 months. And then let's find Jen's comment. Today was crazy. While I'm looking for this, so when we got back, there was so much things wrong. Like I don't have internet, so that's why I'm at my mom's house. The air conditioner, like the drain wasn't working and it flooded the router. And then the pool, the basketball goal fell into the pool, messed it all up, let all the water out. You can fix it in your settings. If you go, there we go. And then today the ladder broke while we were out in the water. Okay. I was going to climb out and it broke on me. Apparently I'm too heavy for it, but no, it was already broke, but it really broke. It's just been a lot. So, anyways, I'm happy to be here with you guys. We'll chit chat at the end. I hope you guys had a great week. Let's get right into it just because we're already 5 minutes in. I just don't have them here yet, Kelly. I do have some, but I haven't. They're all like I took all of my stuff to the beach in case I wanted to go live. Like this giant box that recharges your stuff. An extra. I even took my extra screen, my mic, my lights, everything, and I haven't got it all unpacked yet because we take a giant trailer with bikes and all kinds of stuff. But so I'll get it figured out. But okay, let's get right into it and then we'll chit chat at the end. Okay. So I found a great article. This is crazy because, I wondered if Suzanne would ever be found. If this case is new to you, it almost went to trial a couple years ago and they ended up letting Barry go. They didn't have enough. And, now they've arrested him again. She was found. They were actually searching for another woman who they just found the other day. I have a tweet about that as well. But this article I thought was pretty good. So let's pull it up and look at it. And then I remember hearing that Justice A to Z. And I do know he had the one girlfriend that broke into the house after they had moved out. I guess maybe I don't know why. She got in trouble for it, like she was arrested. This is brand new to me. Okay, awesome. Because they just arrested him again. And the case is crazy. So Suzanne Morphew, she was missing for a long time. And, her family had spoken out. Barry was odd from the beginning. He had done like a quick 1-minute video. This is all off the top of my head. So I'm just going to give like some details and then we'll read through this and look at the indictment. But he had done like one video, but, Suzanne's brother was speaking out and doing searches and Barry wasn't helping. And there was all kinds of weird stuff that pointed towards him. Well, apparently when they searched the home, they had found like a dart in the dryer and text messages on their phone and different things that made them believe it was Barry. I remember they even went into like the forensics of his vehicle. Well, they hadn't found her. So they charged him before, they were going to do the trial without ever finding her. And, there's a lot of evidence that's with the person's body. So she was found not too long ago. And they were actually looking for another woman. Like I said, her name is Edna. What is it? Edna Quintana. And things matched up like you never would believe, because they had found the dart in the dryer. Well, Suzanne's body had the same chemicals in it. See, Barry got these darts for deer, and he would use them, according to him, to steal antlers from deer. Now, these are medications that are only available to like veterinarians, and that's what they found in the dryer. And their theory was that he hunted her because of some cell phone GPS stuff and some other things. And they couldn't prove it. Well, when she was found, she had those chemicals in her. So let's look at this. New details in Barry Morphew case unveiled thanks to the autopsy of his wife. And we're going to read through the indictment, and I can also drop the link to it when we get there. But I'll read through this first, especially for people who are newer to this. And I also found a great video on ABC from ABC News. If we don't have time to watch it, I'll share the link and you guys can watch after. It's really good. Okay. No, we don't want to see this. Okay. In this month's new multi-page indictment, which we're going to look at in a moment, investigators were able to detail how they arrived at first-degree murder. Wait, I forgot. I scrolled a little too far because I did that just a minute ago, too. Let's read the first one. Now that Barry Morphew is behind bars again and accused for a second time in the murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew, investigators in Colorado have given some insight into the additional clues and evidence at their disposal should he stand trial. In this month's new multi-page indictment, investigators were able to detail how they arrived at first-degree murder charges. It starts with the baseline facts of the case that have been public since his first arrest and moves on to what investigators consider to be inconsistencies with his statement surrounding the date Suzanne disappeared, Mother's Day of 2020. Oh, that's another factor. She went missing on Mother's Day, and they have 2 girls. And where Morphew actually was. Investigators said Morphew claimed to be at a job site in Broomfield, but that one of his employees said they were supposed to travel together, and Morphew took off without telling them. So his employees actually came out and did interviews on YouTube and stuff. Even the DA did, which she's gotten some trouble now. Hey, Ava. Hey, everybody. By the way, I didn't even get to say hi to any of you guys. But these employees came out and they said a lot of damning stuff, like, the bathroom smelled like bleach. He was in there for a long time. There was just all kinds of stuff coming out. There was a neighbor who claimed, or a woman, not a neighbor of theirs, but a woman who claimed like next door to her, she heard, this was a property he was working on, that she heard heavy equipment in the middle of the night. That's not where Suzanne was found, so I don't think that's relevant, but there was so much coming out, and a lot of it was pretty damning to Barry. The report goes on to detail multiple instances of video capturing Barry throwing away things in Broomfield. I forgot about this, in separate trash cans, and locates him at a hotel when he got the call that Suzanne was missing, not at the job site like he said. He was caught throwing away all kinds of stuff in different trash cans, which was very bizarre. Along with describing their marriage as the best, Barry did not tell investigators that Suzanne had recently been talking about divorce, was having a secret affair, and had even texted him, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." The report also shows that Morphew and Suzanne were alone at their home during the time of her disappearance. It outlines times the pair's cell phones were connected to cell towers and times that they were turned off in relation to times investigators believe their location is important. Finally, since an autopsy was possible now that she's been found, the report shows that the El Paso County coroner was able to provide investigators with evidence that BAM, butyrophenol, azapirone, and I cannot pronounce these, which are commonly combined to create a tranquilizer used on wildlife, had a positive match to Suzanne's bones. Investigators found a tranquilizer rifle and new dart brand tranquilizer darts in a gun safe in the Morphew home. Investigators were able to find a needle cap. That's what it was. With the darts after pulling apart the dryer in the home, along with the shorts Morphew was wearing the day before Suzanne disappeared. Thanks to the autopsy, police now know Suzanne was not killed right after the BAM entered her system, as her body was able to start metabolizing the drugs. The remains also gave clues that the body had been moved to the location it was found at, the shallow grave, because of the lack of bug or animal activity, inferring the body had decayed somewhere else and then eventually was moved to the grave. A pharmacology expert referenced in the report that this BAM is a mixture used to sedate animals, administered by injection, taking several minutes to take effect, and can render a recipient immobile and vulnerable. This drug is not FDA approved for human use, and therefore no human studies exist, but Morphew, as a former deer farmer in Indiana, had already admitting to using it. So today, when I was like, kind of refreshing a little bit, I saw that he told police, quote, "That doesn't look good." That, this chemical was found in her, or no, that he used this to take the horns off of deer. Which, how cruel and disgusting is that? Like, seriously, that is just so you can have a little trophy to hang in your living room or something. I don't know what you even do with them, but it's just disgusting. I know that he had a hunting store or something like that, according to what I was reading earlier. I don't remember that, but this has been a long time coming, so there's a lot I probably have forgotten. So since a prescription is needed to have this drug in Colorado, records show Morphew was able to stock up on the drug in 2018 before moving to Colorado. The report ends stating that he was the only private citizen in the entire area of the state with access to this drug. That's pretty crazy. No, MK, it's doing that. He sprinkled donut. What an awful human. Ain't that the truth, Jessica? I don't know. It's a little confusing, MK. People can change. Jen had said earlier, if you click on your profile, you can change it in your settings on your channel. And maybe you can make it, if you want to what your name was, and it'll be easier for people to recognize. But okay, so let's look at this indictment. Well, first, let me take you to this. So Lauren Sharf, she has done incredible reporting on this from the very beginning. You can go back and find, when she was going to court, and everything leading up to that, interviewing Suzanne's family. Because the weird thing was, they were setting up these big searches and stuff, and Barry wouldn't help. Like, he did so much shady stuff, and they were speaking out about it, and they did so with her a lot, or many people did, including these employees of his, which that would be something to revisit, the interviews. But apparently on the 27th, human remains in a remote area confirmed to be Edna Quintana were found on June 17th. Oh, okay, this went out on the 27th. She was found on the 17th. Now, this, like I said, is the woman they were searching for when they found Suzanne. Now they found them both. That's awesome. Okay, so here's the indictment. Oh, is Melissa's not changed yet? It is weird how some chats have and some haven't. Thank you, Bendy. Bendy's going to make a post to show people how to change Ava. I remember watching YouTubers who were just following him to show how shady he was. Yes, Tyson Draper. He, I think that's his name. I don't even think he does videos anymore, but he went up there to help search for Suzanne and not accidentally, just happened to run into Barry. Maybe wanted to, and ask him or he didn't ask him for an interview. He just started talking to him. He didn't tell him he was recording, and he put that out on YouTube. So, everybody was just tearing apart every word he said, which is to me, fine when it's a guilty person, but YouTube tends to do that with people before we know. But I keep wondering if the girls had been at home that weekend, would this have been a family annihilation? Hmm. I don't know, Patricia. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. He has done two since Barry has been arrested. Wow, okay. I'll have to check those out. Okay, so here's the indictment. First degree, murder in the first degree. And then after deliberation. So, probable cause for count one is as follows. Here's the everything laid out. So at 5:46 on May 10th of 2020, Mother's Day, Sunday, Suzanne Morphew was why did they write it like that? Mother's Day Sunday. Suzanne Morphew, I guess I could see why. Sorry. Some of these thoughts should stay in my brain. Suzanne Morphew was reported missing to police by her neighbor. The last known person to see her alive was her husband, Barry Morphew. Investigators responded to the Morphew residence at 19057 Puma Path near Salida, Colorado to investigate the missing persons report. The house was locked and Suzanne was not home. Her vehicle was in the garage. Her blank vehicle was in the garage. There were no signs of forced entry and her bike was missing. Later that evening, her bike was located down a hillside off of a dirt road between her house and Highway 50. It was less than a mile from their home. On May 14th of 2020, her bike helmet was located 10 meters off the side of Highway 50, about a mile and a half from the home and approximately 0.84 miles of where her bike was. Barry was interviewed and told police that he set his alarm and woke up at 4:30 a.m. on May 10th of 2020. He told police he left at 5 on May 10th for a pre-planned work trip in Broomfield. Now, here's the thing, guys. This was a weekend, right? Mother's Day, but he was supposedly working through the weekend. But where they were working at this time, you were supposed to get a permit to be able to work there on a weekend. They had an ordinance, right? And he hadn't got one. But let me continue. That's not in here. According to Barry, Suzanne was still asleep in bed when he left at 5 a.m. He told police she planned to ride her bike that day. Barry stated that upon arriving in Broomfield that morning, he checked into a hotel before leaving shortly after for the job site. He told police that he received a call around 5 p.m. on May 10th from his neighbors while physically at the Broomfield job site. The neighbors told Barry that his daughters were concerned because they couldn't reach their mom all day. Barry instructed the neighbors to check the house and specifically to look for her bike. So he kind of pushed this bike story. The neighbors reported to Barry that neither Suzanne or the bike were at the house, and Barry then instructed them to call the sheriff. Police interviewed one of his employees scheduled to assist him with the Broomfield job. The employee told law enforcement that the employee and Barry were not planning to leave for Broomfield until the evening hours of May 10th, 2020. They were supposed to drive together. Instead, Barry left without telling the employee. He called the employee at approximately 11:18 a.m. and informed that employee that he had left without them. When the employee arrived in Broomfield on the Sunday evening, the employee noticed that Barry Morphew had failed to bring the proper tools with him for the job, and the necessary materials for the job had not yet arrived at the job site. So not only did he not have the permit, he didn't even have the proper tools that he needed. Review of the cameras at the hotel and nearby businesses revealed that Barry was in the Broomfield area for approximately 9 hours and 45 minutes. Of those hours, he spent less than 1/2 hour at the job site. Instead, besides 2 brief visits to the job site area, electronic evidence and cameras from businesses showed him driving around to various locations and discarding unknown items in separate trash cans. Hotel footage then showed Barry arriving back at his hotel room and remaining inside the room from approximately 12:34 to 5:55. Inconsistent with his statement to police, he was in the hotel and not at the job site when he received the call about his wife Suzanne being unresponsive and missing. In the early interviews with Barry, he told law enforcement that his marriage to Suzanne was the best, and they had a wonderful weekend together. When Barry was asked whether Suzanne would say anything different about their relationship, he stated no. Barry Morphew's statements about his marriage to Suzanne were inconsistent with other witness accounts and evidence located. Specifically, investigators learned that Suzanne confided in people she was unhappy in the marriage in the weeks and months leading to her disappearance. She discussed plans to divorce Barry with her close friend. She maintained documented notes of problems in the relationship recovered from electronic devices and the physical search of the Morphew home. Suzanne had been having a secret affair. I'll never forget when this came out. I was absolutely shocked, but she was having an affair with an old acquaintance who lived out of state. She communicated with him daily on LinkedIn and WhatsApp. Her last known electronic message to anyone was to this person on May 9th of 2020 at 2:11, just 32 minutes before Barry Morphew returned to the home that day. And that communication was her laying outside taking a selfie. This isn't in the arrest affidavit, but I remember this, taking a selfie and sending it to her boyfriend. An overall timeline of the week of Suzanne's disappearance shows that the disappearance coincided with her daughter, blank, the only other occupant of the Morphew residence, leaving on a pre-planned trip out of state. Because of this, Suzanne and Barry expected to be alone at the residence starting on May 5th until either late in the day on May 10th or into the 11th. Suzanne drove to Gunnison, Colorado on May 5th to depart with her sister and friend on the planned road trip. After May 5th, Barry and Suzanne were alone at the house. A forensic download of Barry's cell phone revealed that Barry had deleted a text chain with Suzanne, from which an image of a single text remained. A screenshot of this single text message was saved on his phone on May 6th. The image revealed a text from Suzanne that stated, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." On May 11th, authorities commenced a search of the Morphew residence that spanned several days. I remember this too. The state of the residence and vehicles showed no signs of a break-in or intruder. Even with no signs of a break-in or intruder, they collected potential evidence in DNA swabs. DNA of the swabs collected produced several profile mixtures consistent with what would be expected in the common areas of a home or vehicle. The mixture profiles were processed through offender databases and were compared to the profiles of known individuals who may have been present in the vehicles of the residents. They did not lead to any stranger or intruder suspects. Now, Barry had really good attorneys. This is not in the document, but he had really good attorneys. And I remember they tried to use this as proof that it wasn't him. And it's kind of similar to what they're doing with Koberger so far, and what, we may see. I don't know what we're going to see in trial, but because they had a lot of pretrial hearings talking about this, and Koberger has too. There was DNA in the home that wasn't Brian's. This was a college home, or like Suzanne's home. I mean, they had young kids and friends over and stuff like that. So, all neat. I hope you feel better too. So the DNA in her car, I think it meant nothing. But of course, they were using it because they didn't have anything. So an expert in DNA analysis testified that law enforcement provided analysis with one of the partial profiles developed from the glove box, here we go, of her vehicle for further investigation using a keyword search. Keyboard search, it says, but I think it's keyword search. This allowed for additional comparisons to profiles in more databases with less stringent quality control standards. That expert further testified there were matches to outside databases, but match only means there were other profiles that could not be excluded. The expert explained that so they're explaining away that DNA. there. I'm going to keep going and that's kind of how I read through this before. Maybe I should read every word, but I think you guys, I'm going to share the link so you can go back through it. But I think that we can go past that rest of that paragraph. So law enforcement located a locked gun safe in the garage during the search of the Morphew residence. Inside that gun safe, law enforcement located a dart rifle or tranquilizer rifle positioned toward the front of the safe. They also found packages of new dart brand tranquilizer darts in the safe. The packages of the darts included capped hypodermic needles inside of them, which were designed to load the darts. Law enforcement found one of these needle caps in the dryer after the dryer's contents were removed. They also found men's shorts. The shorts appeared to be consistent with what he was last seen wearing on video. But no tranquilizer formula was located during the search of the home and vehicles. They also investigated numerous electronic devices and Suzanne Morphew's social media account, searching among other things for proof of life. She had not communicated with any living person after 2/11 on May 9th. She doesn't go missing until the next day. That's when she's reported missing, the next day. I do believe that she had a fight. She had a phone call with a friend in the day leading up. But let me continue. Her last possible activity on any account protected by password access was 3:08 p.m., over 24 hours prior to her being reported missing. Records showing her typical use of electronics and social media demonstrated that this was inconsistent with her typical pattern. It was out of the ordinary, according to witnesses. Now, Barry's devices were also analyzed. A download of the infotainment system on his truck, that's what I was telling you guys about a minute ago, showing the location and activity of his truck at certain times, was downloaded, and the cell phone showed additional location information. Based on the data from the phone, Barry returned to the residence at 2:43 on May 9th. The data did not show his phone or truck leaving again until the morning of May 10th. Now, at 10:07, wait, here we go. Sorry. This is very interesting. It showed that Barry's phone was turned off at 2:47 p.m. on May 9th, only a few minutes after he arrived home. And Suzanne had her last message with anyone. Just a few minutes later, his phone goes off and does not come back on for 8 hours, almost 8 hours. So, 7.5 hours. So from 2:47 to 10:17, but 7.5 on the dot. At approximately 10:17 on May 9th, the phone turned back on. It was turned off again at 4:32 a.m. on May 10th, prior to him leaving the house for his trip to Broomfield, and wasn't turned back on until 5:37. What were you doing, Barry? On the way, you were on the road when your phone turned back on. It says here, when location information showed him on the road already at 5:37 a.m. What could you have been doing that you would need to turn off your phone? Minutes after you arrived home, and Suzanne has her last message with Jeff, her boyfriend, and then again the next day when you leave the house. Did you think they wouldn't be able to find out where you were? Because you didn't know they could do forensics on your vehicle, I guess, the way they could, but okay. Testimony established that the times Barry turned off his phone corresponded to periods of time of significance in the case where location information was consequently unavailable. And then they talk about the telematics on the truck. Phone records for Suzanne and Barry were analyzed by expert investigators. The FBI CAS team, which they are wonderful, that is who found Lori Vallow's kids, right? They used her brother Alex's GPS or whatever on his phone, and they were able to tell pretty much exactly in the yard where he was and see that he was out there for this amount of time and stuff. So they're very good. So they analyzed both phones to determine location information and device usage related to their cell phones. In Suzanne's records, there was no indication of any user-initiated activity after Barry returned home at 2:43. Her cell phone device continued to connect through RTT data with the cell tower that services the Morphew home throughout the night of May 9th and into the morning of May 10th. These automated data connections, however, were consistent with the tower reaching out to the phone to determine its location and not initiated by the user. At 4:23 a.m. on May 10th, Suzanne's phone ceased to connect at all, ever again. Just 8 minutes later, Barry's cell phone data showed his phone ceased to connect starting at 4:31, consistent with the cell phone download showing it powering off at 4:32. Suzanne's phone never registered on any towers other than the tower consistent with the residence from the time Barry returned home at 2:43 on May 9th to the time it ceased activity at 4:32 a.m. on May 10th. Police interviewed, let's read this. Let me not try to jump ahead and guess. Police interviewed people that knew Barry Morphew prior to his move from Indiana to Colorado. These witnesses told law enforcement that Barry was a deer farmer in Indiana. Several individuals told law enforcement that Barry used a specific tranquilizer called BAM to sedate and transport deer on his deer farm. Barry admitted to using BAM in both Indiana and Colorado. Specifically, he admitted to using it as recently as April 2020, stating at that time he had tranquilized a deer from the breezeway of the Morphew residence. I thought it might get into him saying, I know that doesn't look good. So on September 22nd of 2023, human remains were found in and around a shallow clandestine grave in Saguache County, Colorado, near Highway 17. The remains were found a few hundred feet down a dirt road off Highway 17. This location was less than an hour south of the Morphew residence by main highways. The remains were determined to be those of Suzanne Morphew. The majority of her bones were recovered. Many of the bones were significantly bleached. Along with Suzanne's bones, law enforcement recovered a cancer report and items of clothing, some of which were consistent with bike clothing Suzanne was known to wear. There was no visible perimortem trauma observed. A board-certified forensic anthropologist, a botanist, and an entomologist all analyzed the remains, and several observations were noted. There was a distinct lack of bug activity, which was inconsistent with the remains having decomposed at that location. The clothing items lacked evidence of decomposition, which was inconsistent with her wearing the bike clothes at the time her body decomposed. And additionally, there was a lack of animal predation on the bones. There was only a very small amount of desiccated soft tissue. Is that supposed to say desiccated? It says desiccated soft tissue found on a few of the bones, and there was no hair mass located. All of these features would have been expected if this had been the original gravesite where decomposition occurred. The forensic anthropologist opined that based on these factors, it was unlikely Suzanne decomposed from a fresh body to a skeleton at this location. I know, the cancer report. Where I'm going to chat with you guys at the end. I want to just kind of get through it with my own commentary, of course, and then chat at the end for people who replay. The El Paso County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy. In addition to the standard toxicology testing, the Coroner's Office conducted additional toxicology at the request of law enforcement for the presence of this mixture, BAM. The chief toxicologist tested Suzanne's bone marrow for the presence of BAM. All three of the individual chemicals that comprise BAM were present. Additionally, the metabolite for butorphanol was present. The presence of this metabolite eliminated the possibility of post-mortem BAM contamination, meaning she lived for a little while after this BAM was introduced into her system. The metabolite's presence also indicated that her death was not immediate following the exposure because Suzanne's body had begun to metabolize. I just said that. I'm sorry. I should have kept reading. The coroner's office determined cause of death and manner of death as follows: homicide by unspecified means in the setting of these three chemicals intoxication. So if there's no human studies, do we not know like how this would have affected her? Oh, hey, FOS all day. Any Melissa Jade folks here? So glad she introduced me. Me too. That was super sweet of her to send you guys over today. And thank you for being here. If you mean today, because she did tell me that she did in a text. Okay. A pharmacologist and medical doctor testified about the toxicology testing to determine the presence of BAM in her remains, about the chemical compound itself, and about the possible effects of the compounds in humans. Okay, here we go. So when I read through this, I was on the way to the beach, like just quickly grazing, like, going over it quickly, not really in detail, kind of scanning each paragraph for what I really wanted to absorb. Okay, like in the moment on being on the road. The expert explained that the toxicology testing done by the coroner's office met scientific standards of reliability and accuracy. He further testified that BAM is a chemical mixture of three specific compounds used as a tool for sedating animals for medical treatment or movement. Back in 2020, in the years leading up to her disappearance, BAM was sold only by one company in the U.S. and could be only obtained with a prescription. It must be administered into the bloodstream through intravenous or intramuscular injection because the skin and the GI tract do not absorb it effectively. It does not cause sedation instantaneously, but takes several minutes to take effect. Oh my God, that is so sad. It is designed not to be lethal and comes with reversal agents in the prescription kit. Wow. It is not FDA approved for human use. For that reason, there are no studies available that address the possible effects it would have on a human. The pharmacology expert testified the compound would render the recipient wholly immobile, vulnerable, and unable to resist any constrictions to their ability to breathe. Hey, Nanya. Records were obtained for the BAM prescriptions related to Barry, and they were also obtained for prescriptions for all persons within the counties and adjacent counties. They show that he obtained and filled several prescriptions. We just read this in the article, though. It's pretty interesting that it shows that no one else in the area, anywhere close, would have had access to this, at least on record. They didn't have prescriptions of it. Investigators learned that both Colorado Parks and Wildlife and the National Park Service were the only entities that received prescriptions in these counties, and their regulations were very strict, tight. Ultimately, the prescription records show that when Suzanne Morphew disappeared, only one private citizen living in that area of the state had access to BAM, Barry Morphew. All offenses against the peace and dignity of the people of the state of Colorado. So it was a grand jury, and then, they wrote up this indictment. I wonder, he $3 million cash only bond, no leaving the state of Colorado if he does get out, GPS unit, surrender of passport, and compliance with mandatory protection order. It's sad because, when Suzanne first went missing, sorry, I hit the mic, her dad was very vocal and wanted her found so bad, of course, but he's since passed away. But I bet you her family, I can only imagine her brother and the rest of them are just thankful that he's been arrested again. So let me just go ahead and pull up the video I mentioned to you guys. I'm not going to play it all. I don't really do that, but I want to just play the first couple minutes, and then I'm going to share the link, and then we'll chat for a moment. So let me go here. And while this is starting to play, I'm going to drop the links for the CBS article that I showed you guys at the beginning, which links the indictment. And I'll just drop that instead of linking the indictment as well, because I might as well. You guys can just find it in the article, hyperlinked. Okay.
The grand jury has indicted Barry Morphew on the single count of murder in the first degree.
Yet another stunning twist in the case of Suzanne Morphew, a Colorado mom of 2 who went missing on Mother's Day in 2020. Her husband, Barry Morphew, now charged a second time for her murder.
It has been a long road, but I can tell you
that mugshot. I think that was his old one. I forgot how terrible my headphones are. So, yeah, I'm going to try to listen through my phone while we're listening to make sure you guys can hear good. Okay. But I'll be muted, of course, because then you will hear my phone. Here.
that our law enforcement officers have never forgotten, have never given up, and they have been working so hard to get to the place where we are today.
This latest update, years in the making.
With a case that's been simmering for almost half a decade, the death of Suzanne Morphew has all of the hallmarks of a true crime case. A husband, a missing wife, a suspicious death, a body that wasn't recovered until some years later.
The case has topped headlines and captivated the public.
A twist in the case of a missing Colorado mom.
New developments tonight in the disappearance of that Colorado mom.
Barry Morphew was initially charged with first-degree murder and evidence tampering 4 years ago. Those charges later dropped just days.
Okay, so here are his girls, and you can find interviews that they did with their dad after he was released. For me personally, I know a lot of people have criticized them a lot and stuff, and I just don't want to do that. I think that they've been through enough, and if they believe their dad is innocent, which they do, if you look on the picture in my thumbnail, they're just like looking up at this guy, so thankful when he's been released. And this picture here on the screen is also when he was released. I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot for them to take in the evidence, and we haven't heard from them since Suzanne was found, at least not that I can recall. And I think we need to give them some grace. This is their dad, and they probably wouldn't dream that he would hurt their mom, even though we know that one of them was aware. At least one of them had talks with Suzanne about the relationship and the issues that. Oh my God, are you serious? I was muted and I've just been sitting here talking and talking and talking away. But because I'm muted, because the damn phone, I was playing back on my phone, y'all didn't hear none of it. Let me just say quickly, I just want to say, this is Barry's daughters on the screen. They've done interviews with their dad since he was released. And, they believe their dad, or at least they did believe their dad was innocent. A lot of people like to be critical of them. I'm not going to do that. I really don't want you guys to do that here. I want to try to be respectful towards them. I think that with all the evidence that's going to be coming out and the facts. Oh, you did? What the heck? Then how did I get muted? I just think that we need to give them some grace. And of course, they're going to believe their dad is innocent because it's their dad. And I was saying, even though we know that one of them had talks with their mom, and we had heard that they had wanted their mom to leave and stuff like that. Just remember, they're going to be coming around and realizing a lot of this stuff as the evidence comes out, and it's not going to be easy for them. They've already lost their mom. I am also curious, what's this going to look like going through? Is he going to have the same attorneys? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. Dude, I don't know how that I got muted. You guys heard some of it? That's just so bizarre. Did I touch the mic or something? Maybe. I don't know. But here, let's keep listening. And she is an excellent speaker, Patricia. I'm with you. She is. That's why I wanted to play it, because when I was looking through earlier, because there's been a ton of stuff since he's been arrested, like Law and Crime, local news, all these different news places talking about it. I just felt like this video kind of, I don't want to say powerful, but you know what I mean. Would be a good one to play. Okay, here we go.
Days before his trial was set to begin.
In 2022, the prosecution dropped the case against Barry Morphew because there was a number of holes within their case. There were some evidentiary issues that they were precluded from presenting, but probably the most serious part of it, they didn't have a body. No cause or manner of death to really explain what happened to Susan Morphew.
In 2023, Morphew spoke exclusively to ABC News with his daughters Mallory and Macy by his side, maintaining his innocence and claiming his life had been ruined by the allegations.
Did you have anything to do with the disappearance of your wife?
Absolutely not.
You never had a shred of doubt that your dad was completely...
I can't believe here. Wait, why did I pause it there? Hold on.
innocent?
I've never had a shred of doubt. Not one.
It all began
That is freaking sad because it's going to be really hard for them to... it's just going to be hard. This is, of course, already been hard. They lost their mom, but... I'm surprised still that he did that interview, and I guess maybe he felt kind of free to do it because he also sued the county. Like he was like, "Oh no, I'm suing you for having me locked up for this long." How does somebody become that egotistical and narcissistic that they're guilty, in my opinion, and they're gonna sue because they were locked up for it and let go? I'm surprised he did the interview again, like I just said, because when he spoke out before, like his plea for Suzanne, it was so short. It was very brief and it was like 1 minute long. You know, he did speak to Tyson Draper for a few minutes, but he didn't know that was being recorded. So, okay.
Mother's Day 2020. Suzanne's family says she went on a solo bike ride near their home in Salida,
Look at their
Colorado,
home.
then vanished. When the 49-year-old didn't return, Barry Morphew asked a neighbor to call police. At the time, Morphew was reportedly near Denver, over 3 hours away.
If anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you,
This is the plea.
please, no question.
That's the plea. No questions asked. It just was weird. And the way I remember like profiling Evil and Chris McDonough and so many people analyzing that short little clip. So Kimberly, I don't believe it ever made it to that point.
Questions asked, however much they want, I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you.
Was there any indication before she disappeared that something was amiss?
No. Macy and I were texting her on our road trip, having the sweetest conversations and sending her pictures of the fun that we were having.
Did you observe any fights, arguments, disagreements between your mom and your dad that concerned you before?
No.
Before her disappearance,
That
Suzanne was
concerned you, but we know from the messages with, I think it was Suzanne's sister, I have to go back, that one of the girls was telling her, like, you guys just need to divorce. Like, it just, like, this is, I think it was Macy, but again, I could be wrong because it's been a long time. This has been going on for years, and there's really a lot to refresh on that's happened. Like even in just the employees that were interviewed alone, their interviews had a lot of stuff in it. You know, coming back and smelling bleach, not being prepared, not having the tools, all of a sudden changing plans last minute as far as going there and who was going to ride together and just everything. The interviews were, those alone are a lot to catch up with. Did I see what? The whole time he's shaking his head. No, I know. Let me go back to your last comment. There is a part in this interview. Oh, yeah. Where the interviewer asked if there were. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about. Let's go back and look. He asked if there were problems. The two girls shake their heads no. Barry says yes. At the same time, it's freaky. Let's just rewind for a second then. I thought you were talking about his plea. He is shaking his head no the entire time in that. Okay. This one.
I will do whatever it takes to get you back. Honey, I love you.
Was there any indication?
Like what? I mean, okay, I gotta go on cam for a second. If you're I can't make it bigger. I was going to, but it's just giving me trouble. But oh, I miss you so bad. I want you back so bad. I mean, oh my gosh. Oh, Suzanne, that's what he said. Please come home. I would do anything. I mean, he's basically shaking his head like that. Weird body language.
Indication before she disappeared that something was amiss?
No.
Yeah, right there.
Macy and I were texting.
I saw it, Patricia. Look, you guys. So when the girls are saying no, he's shaking his head yes.
Her on her road trip.
I love you.
Was there any indication before she disappeared that something was amiss?
No. Macy and I were texting her on her road trip, having the sweetest conversations and sending her pictures of the fun that we were having.
Did you observe any fights, arguments, disagreements between your mom and your dad that concerned you before?
No.
Hey, Lip Lock.
Before her disappearance, Suzanne was fighting cancer.
I know that
Jeff passed
she was
away.
going through
I didn't know that.
chemotherapy for the last couple of years before her disappearance, and I know she was going through some hard things and made some bad decisions. But
What kind of bad decisions?
He tried to make it out like he almost demonized her. Okay, he demonized her about a couple things. One, the affair, but even though he was looking up hot singles or hot young women in my area and shit like that, but he also really demonized her for being on prescription medications. The woman was a cancer survivor. She may have been in pain. She was on pain medications, but he talked about her and may have been in this, but just as if she was like so troubled because I don't know. It was not good. I didn't like it.
she was really having trouble with the chemotherapy and the drugs.
Prosecutors say
He goes on way more than that.
Suzanne was having an affair with a high school friend who authorities ruled out as a suspect.
When you found out that Suzanne was having an affair, what was your first thought?
My heart was broke. My heart was broken.
Oh my God.
I didn't believe it. Anybody that knows her wouldn't have believed it, and I didn't.
Oh, he makes me sick. I'm just going to share the link for this, and I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to follow this as it goes and talk about it along the way. I hope and pray it ends with a conviction this time. I really do. I heard he had a lot of that too, preschool granny. And we know that he was searching for young singles and stuff like that in their area. So, yeah. Hey, ASB. So I want to follow this as it goes. It feels foreign to me streaming. I haven't been on in so long. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm happy to be back. Happy to talk with you guys. There's a lot of other stuff I have that I want to do, but this was one that, even though it's been a week, I still wanted to talk about it because I want to follow it on the channel as things unfold this time. And maybe we could refresh on some other things, or I could put out a video and I can share things on the community tab as well. So just make sure you pay attention. Oh, thank you, FOS. I don't have a diet because I just kind of eat whatever and drink whatever I want. However, I don't I think I do intermittent fasting without meaning to, because I do kind of skip breakfast and lunch on a lot of days, but then I munch out all evening. But exercise, I get a lot of exercise. I'm outside all the time. And I feel like even in the winter, I'm pacing the floors all the time. So, but thank you. But yeah, I've missed you guys. Oh, love. Welcome back to civilization. I know. I did a little Patreon live while I was at the beach. By the way, it's open to everybody, all Patreon members. So you don't have to be a paid member to see that live. Some of them you do, but not that one. And I showed kind of where I was staying at and stuff like that. It was so much fun, but it's always nice to be home. I just hate unpacking. Then you come home to all kinds of stuff. Then today, more stuff goes wrong. The ladder breaks while I'm on it and pretty much ripped my toenail off. I mean, it's just been a day, you guys, but I had to still come on. I have a lot of stuff that, like I said a minute ago, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about and a couple videos that I want to make. So, listen, I love that. My mom used to play that on the way to the beach when I was a kid. Yeah, hopefully the internet will be fixed soon though, but I've missed you guys. I do want to do, like, me and Jen have so many more calls still to go through, and maybe tomorrow we'll be able to get back to that. I know Jen wants to talk about Lori Vallow's new interview too. So, and I'm going to put in a request. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is yet, just because they, yeah, I just don't want to. I want to wait until I know if we're getting it, and then I'll tell you. But we still have a bunch of calls that haven't even been made into videos yet. And I wanted to do a little video with, like, Aunt B's fight, what she said happened, and then what the police report said happened. So make sure that you're, like, paying attention if you don't get notifications. I think you can unsubscribe. I get so many of you guys telling me all the time you don't get them. I think you can unsubscribe and resubscribe. I think I'd also fallen out of the algorithm a little bit, but I thought it was starting to do better, and then I was off for the week, so I don't know. Don't unpack until you have to pack again. I love that, because unpacking is the worst. Oh my God, laundry and unpacking when you get home. And hell, you're not even home all week, because I clean right before I leave. And I still come home to, like, dust, or like today when I got home, there were a couple little, like, bugs from outside in the house and stuff. And it's just like, I got to clean when no one's even been here, but whatever. Yes, it is a new interview. Nate from East Idaho News is interviewing Lori Vallow, and he's putting it up with no cuts, which is really cool. But also what's cool is if you're familiar with, like, that old clip of Lori Vallow in Hawaii walking with Chad Daybell, it's in, like, every documentary about the case, and you hear somebody scream, like, "Where are your kids, Lori?" That's him. He's been following this from the beginning. So pretty cool. And then she says, like, in one of the previews, "Oh, it's been a long time coming." And it's like, what? She's crazy. But all right, you guys. Let me link to you this article again, in case, I think I shared it a second ago, but been a minute. Maybe I didn't even drop it. Hell, I muted myself and unmuted. Thought you guys didn't hear all of it. Then you heard, I don't know. All kinds of stuff has went wrong. So I'll drop it again. He posted a good, I know, PB&J Test sent me that. I can't wait to see it. Hey, Muscles, good to see you. But anyways, yeah, I'll be watching that. I'll share it with you guys when it comes out. I think it comes out tomorrow though. Yeah. And anything about it, and talk to you tomorrow. I think that's all I wanted to say, but for some reason, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Hey, Guilty of Crime. Thank you. It's a little bit all over the place. I will timestamp it if you came in late. It started at 5 minutes in. I hope you guys have a good end to your weekend. Good to see you in here, Nanya. Good to see all you guys in here. Nanya, Muscles, PBJ, Guilty of Crime. Thank you guys for being here. Jay, the handles just are throwing me off a little bit. I'm sorry, Preschool Granny. JS, Patricia. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Oh, Muscles, thank you for being a member for 8 months. Bye, Quinn. Aw, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. All right, I'm really going to hit in. Bye, Kimberly. Because if I don't, I'm just going to sit here and talk nonsense for the next fucking 10 minutes. It's not, you won't even know what the hell I'm talking about. I'll be all over the place for no reason at all. Just wasting time. I'm not going to do that to y'all. I'm going to hit in. Bye.